Being a leader means that we will face challenges and problems on a very regular basis, often on a daily basis. And there is no sort of a restriction or a boundary that we can only face problems from a certain domain. One day it might be people, other day it could be emotional, then it could be strategy or leadership. You can come across a very wide variety of problems when you're a leader. Problem is this, so how do we tackle them? For me personally, I found that books give me access to wealth of information and tell me how to come across or how to deal with these challenges in an effective way. Challenge that we have is that developing that habit of learning to read those books and identify how we connect to those books. I mean, I went through a process and I'm going to share that process in this video, those 4 steps which help me develop that habit of regularly reading, and then how to consume the information and apply it into my daily life, which allows me to be a better leader today than I was maybe 6 months ago or a year ago. And if you're not convinced that books can help us become better leaders, then look at Bill Gates. He is a very he reads regularly, right? His website called gatesnotes.com, I will link in the description. You can see he reads on a wide variety of subjects. If you're still not convinced that reading it can make you a better leader, look at the reading habits of Barack Obama and how he used to fill up his Kindle and give it to his daughters to encourage reading in them to help them become a better person. So stay with me. I'm going to share those 4 steps which I follow, which help me build a relationship with the books that I read and help me become a better person. The first thing to do when you come to reading books is to identify your purpose. I used to, at a younger age, I used to read a lot of books, mostly around fiction, but I used to read, seriously, I couldn't go through books fast enough. And then as I grew older, entered into working life, I kind of fell out of that habit. I stopped reading. What really helped me get back into reading was to identify the purpose of why I was reading. See, you will only read a book if you are sure that that particular book or the material within that book will have a profound positive impact on your life. Seriously, why would you read a book if it's not going to leave you better than when you started reading that book? So first thing is to identify the purpose of your reading. For me, I've got 3 purposes. First is that I'm coming across a problem and I'm not sure how to deal with that problem. So I'll turn to a book which will help me understand that problem and understand how to deal with that problem. Secondly, I would read for pure joy. I am fascinated by history and fantasy fiction of that, so I will just read that because it gives me pleasure. It was a sort of stuff I liked to read when I was a kid, so it has got more of a nostalgic effect. And third, if I'm curious about a particular subject area, I will pick up a book on that topic and I will read. But let me give you an example of the sort of stuff I've been reading. So this particular book, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Really good book. I read this book when I was looking for something which would help me understand people and emotions a lot better, because I was again facing some challenges about emotional intelligence, how to deal with emotions and why certain people behave in a certain way. Honestly, this was a very hard read at start, but a really nice book. And having gone through it, now when I come across people, I can read them a lot better. I can manage or I can understand their emotion which they might be going through, why they might be upset, and helps me manage people a lot better. Again, second book which I'm going to share with you today is called Triggers. A book by Marshall Goldsmith is one of the most renowned executive coaches, and it says, how can you change your behaviors to be a better leader? Again, very profound book. I've gone through it, I've made notes and kind of went through that, and I learned more about how I behave and how can I change my behaviors. And again, this was the purpose, a problem I was facing, challenges, how to change my behaviors to be a better person, to be a better leader. And again, these books gave me that value. So you need to identify the purpose And once you have identified the purpose or the value you will want to get from a book, it becomes very easy for you to feel motivated to actually read a particular book. Now, let's go and as I mentioned, I sometimes will read upon topics on which I'm just interested in. So these two books, right? This is really thick book. It's about the first Cold War, and that goes back to the 19th century. And again, a book about Mongols because I was fascinated about Mongols. Very, very easy read. Now, normally these two are dry sort of books, non-fiction. I would not have read them had I not been interested in the topic. Somebody can stand there and tell me, Zeeshan, these books, right? Again, showing you that these books are some of the best books ever written. You should read them. But if I wasn't interested in the topic and if I didn't have a purpose or a clarity of why I want to read these books, I would never have picked them up. So the whole point of this showing you these books was that I'll pick up a book once I know the purpose of what problem I'm facing, or there's a particular interest in a subject matter I want to read, and I will pick up a book and I will read on that. That means there's motivation and I'm more eager and more keen to keep up with regular reading because I'm trying to make my life easier or learn about something which I want to. So you need to go back and identify what you are keen about reading, what problem you are facing, and then pick up a book which will help you solve that problem. Honestly, this is one of the most profound changes you can make if you want to develop a reading habit. Second thing is to reduce the friction. So basically, when I don't know, I'm sure you would have heard the term that when you drop water, it will take the path of least resistance. Same goes about you and your habit of reading. Make your books available with you wherever possible. So I've got books next to my bed. I've got a book in my bag which I take to work, which means that I've got a book available with me when I want to read. I don't really have to go looking for a book when I want to read. I make it readily available, which means there's an effort for me to read a book becomes a lot less, which means I am a lot more eager to read the book. So for you, you need to identify how can you reduce the friction, whether you can buy the books, keep them in a place where you normally sit, on the couch or sofa next to your bed, and then it becomes a lot more easy to grab that book rather than reach for your phone or the TV, and then that helps your habit of developing that reading habit for you. Third thing is to choose the best medium, which basically means that okay, let me give you an example. In December last year around Christmas, Audible had a sale on and I signed up for audiobooks. I wasn't really keen on them. I just went, I thought, you know what, why not give it a shot? Honestly, I loved it. I know that if I'm reading a fiction book, I don't really need to go back and reread some concept, go over a chapter again because I didn't really understand what was being mentioned or I didn't really grasp the concept. If I'm reading a fiction, I can just listen to the story, I can enjoy that, and I can actually get the full benefit of that. And hence, that's where Audible came in for me. Storybooks, which I'm reading, fiction books, I have gone through a lot of those fiction books when I am using Audible. It helps me when I'm at bed. I'll put my headphones on and I can listen to somebody reading out a book for me. It's a very pleasurable experience and helps you fall asleep as well. Having done that, I have gone through, I think at least 10, 12 books, at least, fiction ones, which I would never ever have read otherwise. In fact, I am a big fan of Sherlock Holmes. So the Sherlock Holmes collection on Audible, which is roughly retailing for, I think, around 80 to 90 pounds, I think 85 pounds to be exact. I've gone through that. Now, I would never have gone through because it's a very, very big collection, but it kind of helped me fulfill a long-standing goal that I've wanted to read all the original canon of Arthur Conan Doyle around Sherlock Holmes. So for you, advice is choose the best medium, whatever works for you. Kindle, I don't really go with that. I like Audible or physical books. So for me, non-fiction works, which I'm going to read, is going to be physical material. If I'm looking at a fiction, I'll go to Audible. Choose whatever medium you read and make that medium less distraction. I wouldn't recommend reading it on iBooks on a phone because it's very easy to go and check email or messages, Facebook. There's a lot of distraction. You need to find which medium works best for you and use that medium to read books. Now, if you have stayed with this YouTube video till this time, let me know and I can give you the gift of Sherlock Holmes books, which is normally £85, but because Audible allows me to gift that book, I can gift it to you and you can get it for free of cost, provided you have not gone above Audible's gift limit. So, as a gift for you to thank you for sticking this with this video till now, let me know, drop me a message and I will gift that Audible book across to you. The third thing is don't binge read. So basically save your time and unsubscribe to other news websites, blogs which you don't really want to read. See, it is natural that you'll feel tired if you're reading news, if you're looking at magazines, subscriptions, blogs, articles, and when you come to read a book, you're already tired. So unsubscribe to any other news feed, news channels, websites which are not adding value. Now, for me, I used to read news all the time, long form articles. Since I've kind of unsubscribed to them, I've got a lot more free time which I dedicate to reading books. So for you need to identify how do you declutter your reading list. Basically take away anything that is not useful and save that time for reading books that bring you joy, that help you solve problems, that helps you be a better person. Last tip, save your time. So basically I was in the habit that if I've picked up a book, I would like to read it from cover to cover. I had that OCD syndrome that I need to make sure I finish that book. But then I realized why. If I'm not enjoying that story, if a particular book which claimed to help me is not helping me, then why am I staying with that book for all this time? Put that book down, give it back to the library, or put it back on the shelf if you bought that book. Your time is precious. Read what brings you joy. Read what helps you solve a particular problem. And also don't go into the fad of I have to read 20, 30, 40 books. Why? Don't go for quantity, go for quality. If you read, 12 books, which is one book a month, and you actually absorb the material in them and you enjoy that is worth a lot more than you reading 20, 30 or 40, whatever other lists people throw around. Don't buy into that. Go for quality over quantity. Learn to savor the books, find out the lessons in the non-fiction book, apply them in your life, go over them again if you have to, and don't think you are in some sort of a race that you have to, read so many books, unless, you're trying to learn something and there's a time limit somewhere. But generally speaking, go for quality, not quantity. Save time. You don't enjoy a book, put it away, give it back to the library. Do something else and do something more enjoyable with that time. So I hope you enjoyed the tips I gave you, which I use to help me read more and for me to read better, and how I help books help me solve the problems I'm facing. If you're still not convinced why you should have a reading habit, despite me telling you about Barack Obama or Bill Gates, let me read you this, small bit of information that I've got over here. So in 2011, the annual review of psychology said that reading triggers our mirror neurons and opens up parts of our brain responsible for developing empathy, compassion, and understanding. And that is a really, really key thing. Even biologically, reading helps us. So I would love to know, and I'm always interested and intrigued to find out what other people are reading. If you have a book that you're reading, you think it's really useful, leave a comment, let me know what you think about that, and I will try to pick up that book and see if I find it interesting as well. And again, if there are any tips that help you read more, I would love to hear from you. And again, if you found this video useful, why not subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, and also press the bell icon so you're notified when I post new content. And till next time, hope you have a nice day. Stay safe.